Welcome back to This Meeting Should Have Been a Podcast. We're starting something new called Unmuted. And so with me today is Kat Kibben. And Kat, I've got a question for you. We've all been in that meeting where some leader dodged some question or a project failed. I'm wondering, when's the last time you were in a meeting and thought, this could have been an email, this could have been podcast?
So you know what popped in my head when you asked me that is tax time. So we just passed tax time if you're listening to this in retrospect. And I do not want to talk data, numbers, and taxes using my voice. I want everything in writing so my brain can process it because the numbers do not compute.
Yeah, I feel that. I had the same struggle. I haven't talked to my accountant. I just sent him everything. Here, have at it. If you have questions, email me, call me. My friend recommended him. I'm like, okay, he trusts you, I trust you, but same thing. I'm like, I really don't want to answer these questions. Like, do what you can do to get me the biggest return or save me the most as possible. That's all I really want to know. You know what you're doing. I don't. Finance is my Achilles heel.
My financial planner loves to talk on the phone because I think that's what a lot of his customers want, but I am not that person. And so a lot of times I have to just be like, no,
Yeah.
we are not doing this.
Know your audience.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to get into what's, I know you're here at Tri-State SHRM to talk about job posts related to AI. I'm not going to spoil. I'm going to let you talk about that. But if we'll segue that fill-in point for what you're going to be talking about into what's the one takeaway that you're hoping folks here walk away with?
Yeah, that all of your AI aspirations are actually built on high quality job data, and very few of you have high quality job data.
That's scary.
I know.
I can remember when some of the stuff started to materialize a few years ago when I was still in that the TA realm, and we'd rely on it to create better job descriptions. At least that's what was in our head. And we're like, oh, this is so fast. This is so easy. And it's a trap, right?
Exactly, because often that data is not structured in a way that it could easily be used to automate all the other steps that it relies on. And in contrast, most TA professionals don't even know what a good job posting is. So they read it like you did and said, oh, this sounds great. But if it's not true, and if it's not understandable by the candidate, as in they could make a decision based off of that information, it's not good.
Right. I know we were talking a little bit about sort of the reality check of what it is for that job seeker to enter the workforce based on your own personal story from when you started 3 years media, in that you type a title in your search and you're hoping for magic and it's all smoke and mirrors, right?
That's one of those illusions that people buy into, is that all job titles are made equally, yet we know they aren't, right? A director of recruiting at one organization might have an entirely different role than someone else with a director of recruiting title, but we continue to use the same titles over and over again and not acknowledge the truth here, which is we made all of it up. Someone made it all up.
Right. And at some point before AI even, it's you grow in this space. You think you hired for that 10 years ago or 5. I know what that's like. They haven't immersed themselves in those roles.
Exactly.
Right? How often do you run into those situations where you've got a client and you have to start poking at holes at, hey, what do you really know about your job? What do you really know about your environment? And that recruiter has never been on the job floor.
Yeah. Too often, especially as we move into this realm where it feels like there are tools that makes recruiting accessible for everyone. I'm sure you've been on a couple of those calls where you're sitting down with someone who wants to demo a tool to you, right? And you're like, so how much recruiting experience do you have? And they were like, well, I was the director of engineering at Uber. And you're like, that's not recruiting.
You didn't answer my question.
that. And there's a reality that's hard to understand when it's part of your job instead of the way that you are held accountable inside of a business. And I actually believe that this session, my hope is that it's going to help everyone in that room go from order taker to consultant.
Right.
And that's the shift. If you want to have a job in 5 or 10 years, and I'm not doing the whole scare tactic, but this is a reality. If we want to have roles where we are trusted by the C-suite, see the table, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
we actually have to make this shift right now so that we can build the architecture and first have the conversation with the C-suite about why it matters.
And so I'm going to take that as the one takeaway is have deeper conversations with the folks that are involved in those decisions. First, the hiring manager. But if somebody else is pulling the strings, we think very puppet. I'm using my hands and making puppet motions. Doesn't really look like puppet motions. But anyway, it's have the first level conversation to make sure you're on the same page and that person actually understands what you're asking of them. And they have actually gotten deep enough to understand what's the need of the role. Do I really understand it? Or am I the intermediary who's just taking words on a page and, for lack of a better way of putting it, making shit up?
Exactly. And it, I can't tell you how many times I've had a conversation where literally I've just ended the hiring manager intake because I realized that they are not competent enough to explain the role in a way that I can translate it into a job posting.
I've There's pain and struggle in my head going through. So last time we talked, this was back around the holidays. Your book had just come out. And so how's the book tour going? Just to get a quick recap. I mean, have you spent more time on the book tour or are you kind of sort of past that and then bridged into the
No,
next section?
I've been traveling like crazy with that book. I have done about 7 events so far over the last 4 or 5 weeks, all about the book. This is like my transition back into the recruiting world.
Oh, well, and in that book, you talk about sort of this emotional endurance. And so, I'm going to selfishly talk about my CrossFit life because I love CrossFit, not to the point where I'm going to, fall over and crawl in a hole and cry because of the pain and suffering that I put myself through. But there's this component where you've got big picture ideas where your adrenaline just takes over. And then there's the small moments. And I think of it like a movement standard in exercise. If you're doing the right things, even if you're going lighter and smaller, it's better to get that movement right. How are you relating that message now into some of the sessions that you're doing across the country? Because we were talking beforehand, you have a bunch of speaking things before here, after here, and it's just going to keep steamrolling.
Yeah. I think the biggest lesson that people keep coming back to me and saying thank you so much is all around how to quit. So
Powerful.
when I say quit, people get really scared because they think I'm going to tell them to like quit their life, divorce their partner, go get a new job in this market. And that's not what I'm talking about at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the small quits that help us avoid burnout. And most people don't have what I'm calling a quit parameter, meaning when you are coaching someone on your team or you are leading a group or leading yourself, you have to set boundaries around the work you're doing, how long it takes, how much effort you're willing to put in, and hold tight to that.
Yeah.
Or it's almost guaranteed you're going to burn out in this environment.
Yeah. Or drastically fail and burn out, and then you're left on the curb.
Yes, there's nothing worse than running in the same direction over and over again and realizing that you're just running into a wall.
Yeah. We run into this. So I'm going to tie back to the gym. Working with barbells, there's a drop moment
Yeah.
where if you can't hang on to that bar, you have to learn how to safely drop the bar. And it's okay. No one's going to judge you for dropping the bar. And it's fun, honestly, because it makes big, loud noise. Boom. One of the gyms, I go to the Y sometimes, and there's a senior center downstairs. So they don't let you drop the bar for fear of what's going to happen to the elderly. They're going to have a heart attack or something awful. But yeah, you have to have those drop the bar moments in order to succeed long term. I love that. All right. So we are here. I'm going to fire a few quick, I called them instant reaction questions. We're going to do a little Tom punnery. So first question, what's one word that should be banned from every office or email or meeting?
One word to ban. I'm going to go with, can I pick a phrase?
You can.
Work hard, play hard.
Oh, love it. Love it. All right. Question 2. What's the best unprofessional advice you've ever received that worked? And I'll categorize unprofessional. It's not your boss giving you work technical advice.
Yeah. I'm going to swear here. So if you got
Please.
children in the room, mute, do whatever you need to, put your headphones in, but put it in the fuck it bucket.
Oh,
Not everything deserves your energy. And sometimes you just have to put in the fuck it bucket and walk away.
I love that. I'm going to start using that. All right. Last one. If you had to lead a team through crisis using only a ukulele or a power tool, Which are you picking and why?
I'm going to pick the ukulele because one of my weird talents is that I can make up a song on a spot. And I know that my team would get a total kick out of that, even if all hell was breaking loose.
I love it. It's the fun zone. Ukuleles are fun. For those of you that know me know that I've got like 4 of them at home. They're not here in the backdrop, but that's okay. They're too much to look around. What I really need is a big, giant ukulele case. But I'm a huge joy, fun, and I think when you break one of those out, it's hard not to laugh at the person with the instrument, right?
That. And ultimately, sometimes you have to break the tension in order to get clarity. Time is one of the greatest gifts that we never give ourselves.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in to this unmuted conversation with Kat Kibben. Again, we're here at Tri-State SHRM in Mohegan Sun and up in Connecticut. Hope you have a great show and a great turnout. I know people are going to be coming into the room shortly, but thanks for being with me.
Thank you for having me.